Satan, Lucifer, Hades, or better known as the devil. He's known all across the world as being a caretaker of the underworld, hosting the souls of the damned, or a British hunk on a Netflix series. But I think here's still some people that can even terrify him. I'm Kyle McWaters, and these are the top 5 real people in history scarier than Satan. Coming in at number 5. Serial killers. I'm not talking about Lucky Charms and Cheerios, although I single-handedly could kill a box of cereal in like 10 minutes. Throughout history, humankind has shown us that it is capable of some pretty horrific things. Things that not only push along the evolution of our species, but slows it down, horrifies us, and downright disgusts us. Starting this list off, there are way too many serial killers throughout history to choose from, so I'm gonna focus really on one person in particular, H.H.Homes, Herman Webster Mudgett, or notoriously and forever known as H.H.Homes. This was a special type of serial killer because he is known not only today for being America's very first serial killer, but one of the most prolific. People definitely killed people before then, but what this man concocted only reinforces what made this person a threat to Satan himself. After moving to Illinois around the time of the 1893 Chicago Fair, Holmes set up constructing a 3-story hotel on the corner of West 63rd Street for weary travelers. Sounds pretty kind of him. One catch. This mansion, or later known as Murder Castle, was a labyrinth of specifically designed and constructed torture rooms. A number of rooms were found to have hidden peepholes, trap doors built into the floorboards, and even pipes through the walls that Holmes would pump gas into to be breathed in by the unexpected guests. A maze of secret passages, ladders, and hallways, eventually all leading towards chutes to the basement, the end of the maze and the final room, fully equipped with surgical tables and a furnace. Holmes was eventually arrested in 1896 for the murder of 4 people, but what makes this person one of the worst is before he was hanged, he admitted to killing at least 27 more in his sick, twisted funhouse. Although serial killers have made famous through the years, Holmes takes the cake due to his clever, innovative, and downright disgusting mind to torment his guests. This is basically just all the Saw movies stewed into one giant maze. Absolutely sickening. Number 4. Vlad the Impaler. Dracula. Before capes and fake fangs, people were afraid of people solely from reputation alone. You didn't need to dress frightening one night of the year to really scare the bejesus out of someone. I'm talking about real life. Vlad the Impaler was the second of 4 brothers born into a noble family of Vlad II Dracul. His name was derived from the Latin Draco, after his father's induction into the Order of the Dragon, created by Holy Roman Empire Sigismund, responsible for defending Christian Europe against the threatening Ottoman Empire. Vlad is believed to have been born in what is now Transylvania, central region of modern Romania. His name and reputation would be given to him later due to the ordered impaling of some 500 enemy boyars. Vlad was tasked with leading a force to defend Wallachia, back then Romania, from invaders. During his 1456 battle to protect his home, he was victorious in hand-to-hand combat, but let's get to the stuff that really makes this guy terrifying. In some cases, which led to all cases, Vlad would order a pole or pike, usually carved from wood, to be rounded, not sharpened, to avoid damaging internal organs and thereby prolonging the suffering of the victim to death. A giant spear secured into the ground. Nasty. The pole was then raised vertically to display the victim's torment and could take hours or even days for the impaled person to die. This guy really made a mockery out of his victors and forever known as not only killing his opponents in battles and war, but displays their carcasses to any empire-threatening house of Dracul. Legend says that Bram Stoker's Dracula was based on the events and details of Vlad the Impaler, and it is best guessed that if there was someone going around killing hundreds of people, draining them of their blood whilst alive, it was probably Vlad. Number 3. Dictators and Warlords. If you're a history buff like me, then you are well familiar with the atrocities carried out by leaders of regions trying to secure peace and place all around the world. These people, mostly men, make up most of the responsibility of the death of the humankind. Infection, disease, and plagues can't touch the amount of bodies leaders, dictators, and warlords have countlessly used in the universal game for turf and power. Some of these leaders have reigned in the last 100 years, and we can still feel the effects of their acts and wishes now. Some of these people even include Genghis Khan, a ruthless military leader of the Mongol forces wreaking havoc and torture amongst its enemies everywhere in Northeast Asia, somewhere around 40 million people. Mao Zedong, 1893 to 1976. This man was one of the world's most notorious mass murderers, including somewhere around 200 million deaths. We felt, seen, and read the effects of the Germans during World War II, orders of highly educated scientists and doctors, the precise calculated ways to exterminate mass amounts of people under the guise of scientific knowledge about humankind. I'm not going to get into anything specific, and frankly, I don't even like saying some of these names out loud due to the disgusting acts that they've inflicted over the years. The amount of lives taken from the act of war will never be recorded accurately, and we'll never know how much of humankind was wasted for nothing kind at all. Some of these people are knocking on Satan's door as we speak, and I'm gonna let Big Guns downstairs just do what he does. Number 2. Gilles De Rais. The nobleman slash serial killer had reportedly turned to the dark occult, a wooded practice sometime around 1435 when he tried to invoke up the devil himself to help him gain knowledge, power, and riches. Scholars have documented events such as this and have claimed that this man is the sole inspiration for the infamous fairy tale Bluebeard. However, the very true and real story of this Frenchman is much sicker in nature. A distinguished knight and once a lord who at one point served as a military commander for Joan of Arc in the 100 Years' War, Gilles De Rais' reputation was somewhat besmirched when he was arrested for crimes relating to Satanism, abducting, and of course the countless murderings of numerous young adults. After his arrest in 1440, De Rais was put on trial, and though he was found guilty of abducting, torturing, and the murder of more than 140 people, terrifying in itself, many researchers and folklore believe it's somewhere around 800 young adults. I bring up De Rais because after researching about him, I understood why he deserves to sit at number 2. The Bluebeard-inspired life of De Rais can be read about, and in doing so, you'll soon realize why I'm racing through this atrocity of a man, and why he's number 2, and why he remains one of the most terrifying people who have ever walked this planet. And coming in at number 1, Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper was and is still an unidentified serial killer active in poverty-ridden districts in and around East London in 1888. Attacks ascribed to Jack the Ripper typically involved female prostitutes who lived and worked in the slums of London, killing at least 5 women and mutilating their bodies in an unusual manner. The removal of internal organs led authorities to believe that the purpose that the killer had was anatomical or a surgical-based knowledge. Highly educated, even possibly being a doctor himself or surgeon. In October 1888, numerous letters were received by the media outlets, and authorities from the Scotland Yard had been proposing that there was a murder amidst the city. The name Jack the Ripper was born. The letter is widely believed to have been a hoax and may have been written by journalists in an attempt to heighten paranoia in storytelling and in newspaper sales. The murders were never solved, and the legends surrounding these crimes became a combination of historical research, pseudo-history, and fear-inducing lore. What makes these murders so sickening and yet still so interesting is not only did they never find or identify the actual killer, but Jack the Ripper's murders suddenly came to a mysterious halt in the fall of 1888. But London citizens continued to demand answers that would never come. Then or even now. The open and ongoing cases spawned attentions of writers, directors, and historians all around the world and continues to push the scientific method of evidence and DNA in 2022. Well, I feel absolutely sick, and there it is. My list for the top 5 people who are arguably way more terrifying than Satan. I'm your host, Kyle McWaters, and until next time, stay kind and stay spooky.